Afghan national in the United States on a special immigrant visa. He's accused of plotting an ISIS-inspired election day terror attack. When you see one of these headlines, do you ever just think in your head, oh, that's perfect. That's just amazing. Yeah, me too. Let's get into it. Here we go. So we keep hearing from Department of Homeland Security, and we keep hearing from the FBI and other assorted, security experts, whatever, that there could be some kind of threat. The threat is increasing as we're getting closer to the election. Be on the lookout for something weird and abnormal to go on. Well, this one was thwarted. Yeah, but it doesn't seem like it doesn't take much for, one of these terrorists to kind of put this together. An Afghan national allowed into the U.S. shortly after the Harris-Biden administration's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan was charged Tuesday with plotting an ISIS-inspired election day terror attack. Yeah, that's swell. Nazir Ahmad Tahiti, 27, was living in Oklahoma City, where my parents live, better yet, on a special immigrant visa as he took steps to stockpile AK-47s, rifles, and ammunition to carry out the attack on U.S. soil in the name of ISIS. It's according to the Justice Department. Justice Department has also been, hey, something's going to happen out there, guys. So here is apparently one of our only known images. And this is coming off of his phone, I believe, the information. Man, everybody's getting taken down with their phone, aren't they? You got to scoop up everybody's phone and you can see what they searched on, see what pictures they have, see what images they have, and then you just go right to court with that. Or jail. Send them to jail. He entered the United States on September 9th, 2021, just weeks after the Taliban regained control of Afghanistan and the last U.S. troops departed from the war-torn nation. The Harris-Biden administration granted more than 70,000 Afghan humanitarian parole to enter the United States after the U.S. exit from Afghanistan. Now, one of the things I was going to say there is this is a case where parole is actually being used for what it's intended. Folks coming from Ukraine that have been displaced from their homes, okay. Afghanistan, same deal. But when you've got a country that's fighting ISIS, yeah, you've got that probability that, certain percentage of folks that you bring in on these visas might actually be, playing for the other side. ISIS. Department of Homeland Security's parole program for Afghanistan's allows migrants to receive 2 years of legal status in the U.S. with the ability to apply for extensions. Tahiti is one of those Afghans on parole pending adjudication of his immigration proceedings, according to the complaint. Along with gathering firearms, Tahiti allegedly prepared for his attack by making moves to liquidate his family's assets and resettle the family members overseas, according to the Department of Justice. This guy was planning a full-on attack, wasn't he? The criminal complaint against Tahiti notes that the FBI discovered ISIS propaganda on his iCloud and Google account and a video recorded on Tahiti's phone of him telling 2 children about the rewards of a martyr receives in the afterlife. So it appears that this was going to, look at him here, just sitting down and, in his culture, if he's an ISIS fan, he wants to be part of ISIS. This is what they believe. I mean, it's some crazy stuff. But a lot of religions believe crazy stuff, right? All right, we're going to do this. All right, got this. Yeah. So he believes something a little bit different, but that's because he's bitching for ISIS. In the video, Tahiti stated that the martyrs will be exempted from the sufferings of the grave. Yeah, but when you're in the grave, you're dead. So, yep. It just means you placed in heaven, you get married to 72 virgins, and receive a crown full of jewels. All right. But in order to get there, this guy was planning a suicide mission. Suicide mission. I mean, that's straight up what it was, right? Photo of a man wearing a suicide bomber vest, an image of the September 11th, 2021 terrorist attack on the World Trade Center, and a portrait of ISIS Big Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. I don't know if I pronounced that right or not, were among the disturbing images allegedly found on Tahiti's phone. The FBI also found evidence that Tahiti participated in ISIS-aligned Telegram groups and that he donated at least $540 in cryptocurrency to a Syria-based charity which fronts for and funnels money to ISIS. Man, we have got a bunch of folks that are out actively, pro-Palestinian rallies. And I just think to myself, okay, yeah, all right. We're trying to stop the terrorism. And yet you guys are going after this angle. I mean, we've had the whole thing here in Seattle where Macklemore, our esteemed hip hop, whatever, white dude supporting LGBTQ, is pro-Palestinian. He's been very vocal about that. And one of his songs gets played at, during the Mariners game. Gets played during the Mariners game. And so now they're not doing that because they're like, we're not really supporting terrorism here at a Mariners game, but whatever. A TikTok account linked to Tahiti by the FBI bore a username that included a ninja emoji and a black flag similar to the ISIS flag. It doesn't appear as if this guy was really hiding anything, right? And he's doing it right in Oklahoma. Just Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma, just south and east of downtown, or of kind of the central hub of Oklahoma, to the north of downtown Oklahoma City, I think. Tahiti intended to carry out the attack with a juvenile co-conspirator, that's perfect, that has been arrested but isn't named in the complaint because he's so young. I mean, take out kids. They truly believe that this is the way to the afterlife. And if they participate in this, then you get married to 72 virgins. I mean, that puts the whole Mormon, have you seen the Mormon TV shows, the polygamous TV shows, Mormon wives, whatever, really puts that to blame because they've only got 4 or 5 wives at a time. 72, that is a lot to consider. That's a lot. Whatever, right? The alleged terrorist exchanged several messages on Telegram with an individual previously identified by the FBI as a person who facilitated the recruitment, framing, training, and indoctrination of persons who expressed interest in terrorist activity. Sounds like they've been hunting him down for a while. He's on their radar, should we say. We found a person who deals with weapons. This is what the arrested terrorist guy, Tahiti, allegedly wrote in one of the Telegram messages in the terror facilitator who goes by Malik. He found it for us. They are smuggled. We bought 2. They are Kalashnikovs, talking about the AK-47s. The message continues. We have 2 people. We brought 2. We bought 2 guns. Each one costs $1,200. Everything will perhaps be $3,000 in total. We have ordered 500 bullets. I mean, how many of these are ongoing, being planned right now in the United States? That's something that crosses my mind, right? I mean, every single major city could have one of these because when you've got 70,000 Afghanis that have been brought in, it's just like Venezuelans. You bring in, 20,000 Venezuelans or Haitians to a community. Let's just go with the Haitians to a community of 60,000 people. You're going to have some bad apples. And you bring, millions of people into the United States and you don't really have a vetting process. You're going to end up with some stuff like this. And some of it isn't going to get caught. This one got caught, which is shocking, kind of considering just everything that we see on a national level of things that aren't being vetted and security issues that aren't being handled correctly. Take, for instance, attempt on former President Trump's life. I almost said Bush. Why did I say Bush? Because there was a Bush as president when I was a kid for years and years and years, right? What do you think, brother? Is it enough or should we increase it? Tahiti allegedly asked, wanting to know more guns, more ammo, whatever it might take. I mean, this guy's serious. The defendant, motivated by ISIS, allegedly conspired to commit a violent attack on Election Day here on our homeland, said FBI Director Christopher Wray. Does anybody trust anything that the FBI says, Department of Homeland Security, any of those entities? I mean, Secret Service? I really don't. I mean, my confidence in anything to do with national security is just like, okay, all right. I mean, hey, you got this guy, but who else is out there just lurking, putting this together? I'm proud of the men and women of the FBI who uncovered and stopped the plot before anyone was harmed. And I'm not trying to take away from individual FBI individuals or Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection. I'm not. But it just seems like nothing really works to the favor of the American citizen. Yeah, you got this one, which was a win because this guy's been taken off the streets, right? What will actually happen to this guy? Will this guy actually do time? I don't know. First time offender? He's here on a he's here on a visa, on a parole visa. Terrorism is still the FBI's number one priority and will use every resource to protect the American people. Okay. Yep. So you say. He faces up to 20 years in prison. Republican Oklahoma Senator James Lankford said in a statement that the charges against Tahiti are a stark reminder that our nation continues to face threats from those who hate our freedom and want to do us harm. Our enemies. Our enemies. ISIS is our enemy. And we got all that stuff going on in the, Lebanon with Israel. Those folks are not, some of those folks are not big fans of Estados Unidos, right? And so the chances of this happening elsewhere and prior to the election or on the election, are high. They've got to be high. And the fact that we didn't have anything crazy happen on October 7th, I think was, a win. Oklahomans know that many of the Afghan refugees in our community fought side by side with American troops against the terrorism that attacked our nation on 9/11 and destroyed the nation of Afghanistan. So that's kind of the flip side as well, is that, and I've had numerous real estate brokers from the Afghani community here in Kent, Washington. It's just a little bit south of Seattle. But talked and gotten to know many of them, and they love the opportunity that the United States has provided here. They're not down with ISIS. Just like, there's a ton of Venezuelans that are here to start a new life, and they're trying to get away from the violence that Tren de Aragua brings. Violent prison gang. But there's a certain percentage. You bring in the numbers, you bring in millions of people in the United States and you just parole them before you've gone through the full vetting process. Hey, just go ahead, do your thing, give you a work visa, get to work. Without doing that vetting process, you don't really know who's here. Now, it sounds like this individual here, even if somebody would have probably vetted him maybe just recently, up until just recently, they probably wouldn't have come up with much on him, right? Wouldn't have come up with much on him. And we have so many million people that we've just brought into the country without doing much in the way of a background check, that I just don't have a lot of confidence that this kind of thing isn't going to happen, on large scale. Afghan, here's Fox's take on this one. Nazir Ahmad Tahiti, 27, entered the United States weeks after the pullout. Tahiti was arrested on Monday and is charged with conspiring and attempting to provide material support to ISIS and receiving a firearm to be used to commit a felony or a federal crime of terrorism. He appeared in Oklahoma federal court on Tuesday. I want to talk about domestic terrorism. I went and saw the Oklahoma City bombing a few years ago with my parents because they live in Oklahoma and it's one of the things you can do. We also went and visited the campus of University of Oklahoma, which is basically an enormous football field with a school. They have got a football program there and they are very, very proud of it. Oklahoma Sooners, I believe. Yeah. As charged, the Justice Department foiled the defendant's plot to acquire semi-automatic weapons and commit a violent attack in the name of ISIS on U.S. soil on Election Day. So this is from Attorney General Merrick Garland, and I have zero confidence in Attorney General Merrick Garland. No is what I would say. Ahead of the planned attack, Tahiti allegedly liquidated his family assets. Okay, he wasn't just planning, he liquidated them. He resettled family members. All right, we're going to have to book it out of the U.S. because things are going to get a little spicy here. I will be dead. My cohort here, who's underage, he will be dead. But, you guys are we're going to have you book it out and have to have you go to Syria or who knows where, some other terrorist-loving community, right, that hates the United States. We're a huge target. We are a huge target. And meanwhile, the United States is a huge target. We are just bringing people across the borders willy-nilly without much thought to, a small, tiny fraction of them doing something like this, committing some kind of crazy act like this. And so while he was liquidating his family assets, Tahiti and an underage co-conspirator advertised the sale of the family's personal property on Facebook. Maybe not the best of choices. A confidential informant working for the FBI inquired if a computer was still for sale, claiming they needed it for a gun business. Okay, interesting. That led to Tahiti and the juvenile meeting with the informant and others working for the FBI at a rural location to test firearms. During the meeting, Tahiti expressed interest in purchasing 2 AK-47s magazines. He faces up to 35 years in prison if convicted. Do they have enough to convict him? Sounds like they do, but you know how the law is. And, an attorney pops up with some small little detail that just whoosh, blows up the whole case. How often do you see that? And you're left thinking, all right, but the evidence shows this. And the thing that blew the case up was this tiny little thing. No, the law is the law. So in this case, the good guys got the bad guy. But how many other instances of this are ongoing right now? How many don't we hear about? We hear about the textbook cases, right? I think there's just so much going on right now, specifically. Just, you've got everybody screaming at everybody. People all worked up. Republicans worked up with Democrats. Democrats worked up with Republicans. We're all worked up. And it kind of feels like you have stories like this. And then you have another story I'm doing today is Trende Aragua basically robbed a woman in Dallas, in a very nice neighborhood of Dallas. And it was like, oh, that's not good. You got stories like that. And then, you got the Diddy story out there. You've got so many stories. And I often wonder how many of these are here just to distract us from what's really going on. What's really going on? Man, I don't know. I read these surface stories and we talk about them, we message about them and, hey, that's crazy. Yeah, it is. But you always figure there's this undercurrent of something else happening. And so, yeah, I think that is going on. I think we don't really know what's happening in the midst of our own communities. But this is one story where you're like, okay, yep, AK-47s, ties to ISIS. That looks like a fairly clear-cut story. You're going to see this on CBS and NBC, and I think virtually nobody else covered this because it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good on the current administration because of that whole Afghanistan withdrawal was such a debacle. Just a debacle, in spite of what Kamala Harris says, which is, well, I'm glad he committed to something and he did it. Yeah, he did it in a way that was just terrible execution, right? Now, Afghanistan withdrawal, if you've read anything about that, that's a hard no-go. That is like, what happened? Okay, yeah, there was zero coordination. You're going to leave all the, military equipment? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, all right. No. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.